Hi, in this video, we will learn the treatment of realization expenses or expenses on dissolution of the firm. The treatment of dissolution expenses depends on who has to bear the expense and who has actually paid the expense. Now we have a table over here. On the top, it says borne by. We have firm and after that partner, and on the side we have paid by firm and partner. Now where the expense is to be borne by the firm and is also paid by the firm, the journal entry is realization account debit to cash or bank account. Where the expense is to be borne by the firm but a partner pays the expense, the journal entry in such a case would be realization account debit to the partner's capital account. Where the partner has to bear the expense but the expense is paid by the firm, the journal entry is partner's capital account debit to cash or bank account. And finally, where the partner is to bear the expense and the same partner also pays the expense, there will be no entry passed in the books of accounts. So the treatment of realization expenses depends on who is to bear the expense and who has actually paid the expense, as we just discussed. Sometimes the firm may decide to give remuneration to a partner for carrying out work of dissolution of firm. The journal entry for remuneration given to a partner by the firm is realization account debit to partner's capital account. Now, when this remuneration is being given, in the problem, there may be a clause that the remuneration includes expenses. Then in such a case, we need to infer that the expenses are to be borne by the partner and pass the appropriate entry. Where nothing is specified, we will assume that the remuneration does not include expenses and we will infer that the expenses are to be borne by the firm. Sometimes the question will not specify who has to bear the expense. So in the absence of information as to who has to bear the expense, we need to always assume that the firm bears it. And in the absence of information as to who has paid the expense, we need to assume that the party who has to bear the expense has also paid the expense. These two assumptions are very important while we solve sums in this chapter. So now that we've learned the treatment of dissolution expenses or realization expenses, in the upcoming video, we will solve example sums to understand this concept better.